Hey everybody, how's it going? Sirvenomik K coming to you right now for another episode of World of Warships for Beginners. What we have for you today is how to choose your destroyers. Alright, so you saw with the other two videos. You've played the battleships. You've played the cruisers. Now you want to get into the nitty-gritty and some of the most fun, hardcore, and most frustrating action into the game. It's very high risk, very high reward. So what we have for you today is a base overview of play styles. So you can choose the proper play style for what you intend to do as a destroyer. So moving into the lines right now, there's several different play styles that you can do. Some of these boats are good at both. Some of these boats are decent at one and not very good at the other. Some of these boats are terrible at one and very good at the other. So which one do you choose? Well, my friend, it all depends on how you want to play. So taking us into our very first line is the IJN Destroyer line. Now these are characterized by stealthy. These are stealthy torpedo boats. Now, they have good guns, and a lot of people forget that they can use their guns. I highly recommend that if you have a guy down to 2,000 to 3,000 hit points and you're waiting for your torpedoes to drop, just shoot the guy. Just shoot him. All right? Highlights of this line are pretty much all the entire line is pretty fantastic for stealth torpedoing. It gets better and better and better as you go up. Highlights probably starting from Tier 6, the Hatsuharu. And then moving into the 7, the Akatsuki and the Shiriyatsuyu, absolutely fantastic boats. Tier 8, and there's two more boats, the Kagero and the Akizuki. The Akizuki is just a pure gunboat. It only has 4 torpedoes, but it does get a torpedo reloader. Kagero, you have a choice of smoke or torpedo reloader, but Kagero, Yugamo, and Shimakaze are absolutely fantastic boats. I highly recommend these for somebody who not quite sure what they want to do with their guns, or maybe they find themselves getting into some trouble. Just don't use your guns until you absolutely have to, and you should be fine with these, and these are some really, really fun and awesome boats. All right, moving in to the next line, we're going to go with the Russian destroyers. Now, me personally, I struggled with these boats because you get to Tier 6 and you have one particular mentality of your play style. Tier 6 changes it. Tier 7 goes a whole different direction. So within 3 tiers, you have 3 different play styles of these boats. And once you hit Tier 7, pretty much the rest of them are the same. Very, very strong guns. Very strong guns. Very small torpedoes. And when I say small, I think you get lowest 4 kilometers on some of these, 4.5 kilometers torps, all the way up to 8. I think 8, maybe 10 is the biggest torp on this line. The split happens at Tier 8. You go from Kiev to the Ognavoy. That's the split there. And then down the line, you have Ognavoy, Udaloy, and then Grazovoy. And then you have, on the other side, you have the Kiev, the Tashkent, and the Kebab, or Khabarovsk, or Habarovsk, or Kebab Ras. We're just going to call it the Kebab Ras. Each one of these has a very specific style of play. The Kiev Tashkent, and the Kebab Ras, they are very strong guns, very not so great torpedoes, but you can use them. They are serviceable. You're going to sit pretty much max range and fire your HE out there. If you get broadside, feel free to fire your AP because you will get some severe damage. On the other side, those are what we consider the torpedo boats. Ognavoy, 10K torps, but only gets 4 guns on 2 turrets. The Udaloy is another fantastic boat. I struggled with it until I got it maxed out. Once I got it maxed out and put it on AA spec, it became a very good AA spec barge. And then, of course, the Grazovoy is also an AA spec barge with very, very strong guns. So if you want to go gunboat, Russian Strongsk. All right, now let's move into the newest line of the destroyers, which are the Pan-Asian DDs. Now, these DDs are very unique, and they're different than any other because they have what they call deep water torpedoes. Now, these torpedoes will not hit other DDs. They won't. They just won't. But they will hit cruisers and battleships and carriers, and hit them and do a lot of damage and flood them. It's a pretty decent flooding chance if I remember correctly. So to offset the disability of the torpedoes, they come up with very strong guns. Highlights of this line, I think this line really takes off at Tier 7 with the Gajimada. Gajo Mama. Man, she's good. And so is that boat. Tier 7 is really good. Tier 8 is kind of a downgrade. You're playing on a Benson hull, but with 4 turrets, right? It's a sea hull Benson with 4 turrets. It's decent, but it just struggles to really gunfight somebody else. Something like a Benson that has 5 guns, or a Fletcher when you get tiered up, or a Gearing. You're really at a disadvantage, so you have to play this one a little out. The Chungmu and the Yu Yang at 9 and 10, fantastic boats. I've had a lot of fun. These are Fletcher and Gearing class style, so they play pretty similar with really nice long torpedoes. They also boast some pretty low detection ranges, as the Chungmu at Tier 9 is 5.7, whereas the Fletcher is what? 5.8, 5.9, something like that. So if you want to be a gunboat, a pure gunboat, and maybe hit some torpedoes, you're going to play off a little bit. You're not going to be rushing into a cap, because you're just going to get gunned down, and you're going to be like, oh, these boats are mad. Why did the Dean of Average tell me to go play these? Hey, just be patient and play very passive with these early on, and then pick your spots and go in, because they are very formidable at some points. But if that's the way you want to play it, Pan Asians, man, that's right up your alley. All right, let's go into another line here, the U.S. destroyer line. Now, these are kind of a hybrid, all right? So you had the pure gunboats on the Russian line, and you had the pure gunboats in the Pan Asian line, sort of. And then you had the stealthy boats in the IJN line, right? Well, these are kind of hybrid style, and this is the way I've tend to play them. These are very good, strong guns at close. When you get longer ranges, the 127s, they really start to loop, and it makes it hard. So if you get within 6 kilometers or something, you're going to dominate. You're going to dominate just about anybody. If you get over that, then you're going to struggle. And that's when, if you get over 6 kilometers, you might as well just go ahead and cut your losses, turn around, run away, and try to get dark, and reposition yourself to come back. Now, if you do happen to take a lot of damage and you're down to 4,000 or 5,000 hit points, at Tier 7, starting from the Mayhan up, you have the ability to still be stealthy and torpedo. So this is where the hybrid part comes in. You can play aggressive and do whatever you want to, but if you start taking damage, back off. That's right, back off, boys, and use your torpedoes, area deniability torps, or whatever you have to do to get some damage and to help your team. These are my personal favorite. I've really enjoyed it. 7 and above are highlights of this. Tier 4, let's really call it this. Every U.S. destroyer is very strong if played correctly. For the early tiers, you're going to be an ambusher. You're not going to go out there, because your torpedoes don't really get very long until Tier 7. They don't get over 7 kilometers until Tier 7, and then they go to 9.2, and then 9.2, 10.5, 16.5. So they get better as they go up. But pretty much the entire line is fantastic. My personal favorites, Tier 4, the Clemson is absolutely phenomenal. The Benson, Fletcher, and Gearing, they're all really strong at 8, 9, and 10. So if you guys want to be a hybrid, be a jack of all trades, really good smoke, hey, the U.S. line is for you, my friend. All right, coming into the last of the lines here, the German line. Now, this is German line I struggled with for a long time until I hit Tier 7. Once I got the mass up and running and had the maxed out mass, the boats really started to take off for me, and I really enjoyed it. Under Tier 7, I wasn't a big fan of these boats. 7, 8, 9, 10, absolutely phenomenal. These are another hybrid style, but less gunboaty and more toward the stealthy side, right? These are not cappers at all, because the detection range are pretty big, but they are a second line support. So if you have another, let's say you have a Japanese boat in your division or in your team, go support that guy at the cap. That's right. Their characteristics of this line: really strong guns, very fast reloading torpedoes. I'm talking 70 seconds or so. Also they do have something that none of the other lines have except for the Low Yang, and that is a hydro, up to 5.6 kilometers or so. Very, very strong skill. So you're going to shoot them up. You're going to help. You're going to play with your fellow destroyer to really focus down these DDs in the caps. Then you dominate the caps with your hydro, and there you go. That sounds fun to me. Arguably some of the best lines. Highlights 7, 8, 9, and 10. Z46 is fantastic. The Z52 is probably, arguably, a lot of people are going to say that this is their favorite one. My personal favorite is the Gearing. That's just because I've played it more. But the Z52 is fantastic. Z23 is okay. It struggles a little bit sometimes with the 150 guns, but the 46 and 52 are absolutely phenomenal. So if you want to be a helper and you want to be a supporter, a little bit of a smoke, but really, really strong hydro, hey, the German line is right where you want to be. All right, so there you go. If you have an idea of how you would like to play, then this guide was absolutely perfect for you. Now you have a little bit of knowledge on how to play these boats and what you're going to see when you're playing against these boats. Maybe you can plan your strategies accordingly. Well, that's going to be it for us. Thank you very much for another episode of World of Warships for Beginners, How to Choose the Right Destroyer. I am sirvenomik, the Dean of Averageness. Class is dismissed, boys. Salutes.
Hey, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Daddy needs that YouTube money.